What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. 2 guys, 1 mic. Looking a little different than normal this week, you know? We're finally back in person.
Feels good.
Feels real good. For some of us.
Feels amazing. Honestly, feels amazing, fellas.
Yeah. Wild card weekend, huh?
What a wild.
It was.
Weekend.
There was some wildness to it.
It was wild.
Yeah.
There was definitely some wildness to it.
Some heartbreak.
Some heartbreak, some expected heartbreak, some not so expected heartbreak, and then some pretty good blowouts too. Actually,
Yeah.
I was a little surprised by that. We had talked about last week when we had our guest Ryan. Thank you for filling in last week. We talked about how we thought all the games would be really close, but there was a potential for a couple surprises.
Right.
And I think there was actually more than just a couple surprises.
Yeah, I think there was one that was probably more, maybe two, but like one that was really, really surprising. I think we all picked one team.
2 of them.
2 of them?
2 games we clean sweeped. All 4 of us picked a certain team, and the other team lost.
My record was really bad wild card weekend.
Yeah, there was not good picks by well, the best one was Josh.
Yeah, which makes sense.
But yeah, so we're starting right off. Game 1 was I would say the biggest surprise blowout, right?
That's the one I was talking
Yeah,
about.
the
I think that was.
Texans just taking it to Cleveland. They made Cleveland look silly. They made them look silly.
What was that? What was the final score? Do you remember?
45-14.
Yeah.
45-14. Oh,
Yeah.
my
And it was
God.
like 40-something till in the teens. Flacco did not look good.
No.
2 interceptions, right?
I think so.
Both pick sixes, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Stroud looked real good. He looked poised. He was making some really nice passes. Who's the old Bills running back?
Singletary.
Had a couple really good runs.
Yeah.
they look good. They look real good playing against the Browns. Defensive player of the year, defensive player on the best defense, held to 0 stats.
Yeah,
0 stats.
We'll talk about your player. He also was held to 0 too.
Yeah, well, you get held to 0 when you don't play.
We'll get to my game when we get to it too.
Yeah.
It was kind of really similar to that game.
Yeah.
Good defense all year, and just didn't show up.
Yeah. So that was the Texans Browns. There wasn't really much. I mean, it's just a shock.
Right.
And the Texans look good. I'm glad. I picked the Browns. We all picked the Browns.
Right.
But I'm actually glad the Texans won. I would kind of cheer for the Browns, but I like to see what Stroud and DeMeco Ryans are doing on that team. So it was good to
Stroud.
see. Yeah.
It was funny. I was talking to a coworker today, and he's like, "Who's really on the Texans?" I mean, obviously you have some players there, but really, I mean, I feel like Stroud really kind of put it on his back, right? And
Yeah.
and obviously we talked about Singletary. He had, I think it said 66 yards. I mean, that's pretty decent, but not great by any means. And then obviously their defense showed up.
Yep.
Against Flacco, but
Was it Stingley? Is that
Yes.
their
Derek
CB?
Stingley.
He played well. Will Anderson played pretty good for him too, didn't he?
Their one linebacker played good. He had one of the pick sixes. I think he had a sack or 2.
Yeah.
Uh,
They got a young team. Though.
Christian something.
They got a young team, and we don't know. And being on the East Coast and them being out there on the West,
Yeah.
you don't hear much about them. But they got a good team going right now, so it was good. I think Flacco showed his age, and they just didn't click at all. They had nothing going.
What a difference between like those guys who had the second overall pick, the second worst record in the NFL, compared to, and I know that the Panthers traded away. They're traded for the Bears pick, but to be like the second overall and then see where the Panthers were, how bad they are, you know, like how incredible they actually built from something young, like you said, they're a young team, and to actually make it to the playoffs and then win also a playoff game, pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive.
I saw something. I don't know where I saw it, but who's the GM in Carolina? Temper. That Temper wanted Stroud.
I think they all wanted.
He wanted
somebody.
Stroud, but somebody overruled him and went with Young.
Maybe the owner. Maybe.
See, I thought it was Frank Wright that wanted Stroud.
It was the coach
And
wanted Stroud, and Temper wanted Young.
Bryce Young.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they fired him. Yeah, he's the one who's not there anymore. Wanted Stroud, and he got overruled. So it must have been the coach being overruled by the owner.
Do you think Stroud would have had as good as a year in Carolina that he's had with Houston? Because I mean, in Houston he's had some more pieces.
I think he's got.
Carolina.
Yeah. I think Houston has a better defense. I don't know who's on their line, but I'm gonna guess it's better than Carolina's line.
Better coaching, D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico Ryans, he knows how to get people fired up, and I mean,
he obviously had a connection with Tank
Dell
Dell before he went down.
But what would have been interesting is because Stroud went to management and said, "Listen, look at Tank Dell," because they had a connection beforehand. And they listened to him, and it paid dividends.
Yeah, but
I would have been interested would he had done that in Carolina. Would he have gone to the Carolina guys and been like, "Listen, Tank Dell's who you want to look at"? Would they have listened to him? Right? Like, would they have listened to him, or would they have been like, "Oh, this is our team, Rook. Like, get out of here."
Right. The coach is saying, "Hey, we want CJ," and they're like, "No."
But that also, I mean, if you look at it that way, that's got to put a lot of confidence in Stroud immediately.
Of course.
Like, these guys are backing me. They're behind me. They're listening to me. I haven't even stepped foot on the field yet. I haven't even picked my jersey number yet, and they're already listening to me, like who to go for. Yeah. So that's got to give him a little bit of confidence too. You know, it clearly worked out for him this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of credit, right, for Stroud and how he's played. He's an incredible player. And moving forward, it's kind of almost like Patrick Mahomes, right? They always did the whole thing. If he wasn't on, if he didn't sit for the year, if he didn't get to the Chiefs, would he be the same player? I think these guys naturally are like incredible players, right? In one of a kind. But in the system that they've obviously shined. So, I mean...
And I agree with that. Like I say it all the time, and I used to say it like real bad. It used to be one of my biggest offenses against Tom Brady. But I think Tom Brady proved to me that he was actually an exceptional player.
But who knows, right? If he went to a different team, did it not click and everything?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because fundamental...
As good early on as he was, right?
And then fundamentals, too, right? You have a certain... And I don't think Brady has ever talked about a certain coach or anything that had specifically worked with him. But who knows? I mean, you have these guys in the locker rooms. I think Jason Kelsey was talking about... Or somebody was talking about how many coaches they have now compared to back in the day. There's so many coaches for each... Like, it's like almost a coach for each player, right? So
yeah, really. They, like... have specific, like they have a coach for the position, and then like a coach for like a receiving running back, a coach for like a power running back. You know, like it's crazy.
Yeah,
it is crazy. But speaking about Patrick Mahomes, that was our game 2. A lot of people were kind of upset that the Chiefs played this game because it was so cold.
See, I'm on the side of this is playoff football.
Yeah.
This is what happens this time of year.
I'm good with it. Like, it is what it is. And then they have so much technology these days that they can keep the players safe and everything. But I read a report that 15 fans got hospitalized after that game.
I did see that, yeah.
For hypothermia and frostbite. Now, that's also on the fans a little bit, too.
Were they not wearing shirts?
That's what I'm going to say. Like, what were they doing?
Yeah.
Were they drunk off their butts and they couldn't figure everything out? Were they bundled up? Did they take precautions?
Was there any player that got really...
Right, and it was all fans that I saw. It was all fans. So,
we saw some little kids in the fans, too. I think that's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Like bringing your little kids out there?
Aaron and I said that when we saw one of the first shots of the crowd was a mom and a daughter. And they were like wrapped up. So like all you could see was this. Yeah. But I'm like, why would you take... And she looked young, like Lennox and Ella's age. Yeah. Like, why would you... Yeah. Why would you bring that kid? First of all, why are you spending the money on a playoff ticket for that young of a person? But I said, thinking about it, I'm like, I bet you Mom was like, hey, we might see Taylor Swift. Let's go see, and she was there.
Or maybe a good deal on nobody wanted to go to a game that was negative.
Well, I heard the tickets did drop pretty good amount in price because of the weather.
Right. Which would make sense.
Yeah.
I disagree 100%. I agree with Mike. I think you play no matter what.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Buffalo, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Like, there's certain circumstances in certain situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can't even get to the stadium, or if it's going to be like, crazy, then moving a game. Obviously, you'll talk about that more with your team. But I think you play football. You play. These guys are meant to, play in cold weather, and it's home field advantage.
Right. That's what I was just going to say. That's the biggest thing is these teams do what they have to do all year to get home field advantage.
Right.
And then you got a team from Miami coming into that weather.
Yep.
That's
a huge advantage.
Yeah, right.
Huge,
so,
yeah.
like, I say, that's football.
Yep.
That's what you do it for.
We talk about it, Green Bay all the time. It's like going to Green Bay.
The frozen tundra.
The frozen tundra.
Yeah.
You're like, Dallas going there is not going to always expect, like obviously we went to Dallas, but like you're not going to expect, to play as well maybe when you're not used to it. So
yeah. But I mean, this game was all right. Right? It
the
wasn't
final
too
score
bad.
was 26-7. Sorry, lost it. Yeah, 26-7.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill scored their only touchdown. Mahomes had a huge chunk of his helmet snapped off.
Yeah.
And then I heard something when he was trying to put his backup helmet on.
Yeah.
It was
Didn't
frozen.
fit. Yeah.
So it wouldn't fit right. Like that kind of stuff is crazy. Like you would think with all the technology they have, and they have all those seat warmers and everything like that they would have like an insulated
Right, a bag
or something that you put a backup helmet in, especially one with a communicator in it.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
It's funny. Talk about Jason again. He talked about how he would put his helmet on the heated, like the seats.
Mhm.
He'd put it on there so that he could like keep his head warm. He's like, that's the only thing I cared about, specifically. But you're right. It's kind of like interesting. Why wouldn't you have it?
yeah, right. And,
Something, I don't know.
and of course, we were watching it. We watched the game and everything. I think the game that came out. I forget what game it was.
Lions.
I don't know. It wasn't that. Maybe it was the Bills Steelers game when I was watching with Aaron. It might have been the KC game. She was like, "Why are these players playing with no sleeves? Why?" I think it was. I think it was the KC game. She's like, "Why are they playing? Like, do they know how stupid they look?" And like one of the reporters was like, "I think Tyreek Hill was wearing a wetsuit underneath all his clothes to stay warm." Like, it's crazy. But like,
the most fun I've ever played football and I've never played in that kind of degrees, and obviously not that hard, like get hit that hard, and but like the Turkey Bowl, you know what I'm saying? When you're like, it's cold out, like those are the most fun, like Christmas time when you're playing in the snow and everything.
Yep.
I don't know,
Yeah.
you don't feel it. You're just kind of playing, right?
Yeah, in high school, once me and my buddies we got together and we played a game, and it was a slush that was coming down.
Yep.
Right, so it's kind of like a combination of a rain and a snow.
Yep.
And it was so much fun. Like you would tackle, and you guys both I think it was that San Fran Chicago game.
Yep.
Where Fields did his little Superman thing and slid.
Yep.
That's all that game was just like that, and it was a lot of fun. But it also wasn't -24 or whatever it was.
Right. Kind of crazy, but hey, they expected it. So
That game I think kind of went the way everybody expected. We all picked KC for that game.
Yep.
So that was good. And then the next game would have been the Steelers-Bills game, but that got pushed back. So the next game was the two guys one Mike Bowl, the McCarthy Bowl.
Yep.
I would say probably, and I'm sorry, I don't want to step on toes or anything, but probably the biggest disappointment of the weekend.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Honestly, I disagree completely.
Well, not right, not for you.
Well, for you, but I mean, it's close. It might tie their rivals. The Eagles and the Cowboys might be tied.
Yeah.
But the only way I say it is because Dallas came in, they were 16-0 at home or something like that, or 15, whatever. Like they were hot at home.
They hadn't lost a game since week one of 2022.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They were hot at home.
Yep.
Their defense was playing amazing. Dak was lighting it up. He was looking like an MVP. CeeDee Lamb was
unbelievable.
like this top receiver guy. Like, we always bust on you about him not being one of the top receivers, but we had that conversation. Is he? And we were like, oh, he might be.
I feel like he's proved himself this year.
And then this playoff game happened, and it's like they took a step back from 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. The defense, kind of like Cleveland. Cleveland had a great defense all year, and they just didn't show up. Same with Dallas. Dallas's defense looked like a defense that Dan Quinn was on his way out, taking a head coaching job.
Yeah.
And they didn't look prepared at all. I mean, because you obviously watching the game, the Packers brought a whole new meaning. The guys being wide open.
Wide open.
Like there was nobody around these guys.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We were
Dobbs
sitting here
was wide open a
We were
lot.
sitting here going, dude, there's nobody even close to when he did, and all he did was run up and run like a 4-yard
Jordan
drag.
Love had to throw it like rainbow style.
Yeah,
Nobody.
he had enough time to tie his shoe, put his hands out, catch it, and
The
like
Dallas defense made Jordan Love look like the next Tom Brady.
Stephon Gilmore did not look good.
No, well,
He got torched a few times.
yeah, I guess he was not that it, he was playing through it, so I guess, but he had a torn labrum, I guess. He was going for shoulder surgery today, so he was playing through it. He was a little banged up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just very disappointing. And I don't know what it is anymore. The
Yes.
defense, like I said, just looked like a guy coaching them that was on his way out. McCarthy got out-coached bad by LaFleur there.
Well, and one of his
Um,
biggest knocks is he doesn't make changes, right?
Dak wasn't clutch again after MVP level all year. Him and CD were off the whole game.
Yeah, and they were fighting too. They were arguing the whole game.
So I don't know.
Now Ferguson had a great game.
Taking nothing. Yeah,
Ferguson had a good game.
Garbage time there.
taking nothing away from the Packers. I mean, they look great. So
Well, and I told you when we talked about when the Steelers were playing, we were talking about our games. The Cowboys and the Steelers both came out looking a little flat, and the Bills and the Packers came out hungry, ready to go. I mean, the Packers came out and punched right in the mouth. Right in the mouth.
And I would say, I think it was a risky move, but it was, I think, a move that kind of made a statement. The Packers won the coin toss and said, "Hey, we're going, we're seeing."
Yes.
And I think that's a big part because a lot of teams obviously will be like, "Oh, we'll defer," but I think the Packers wanted to like prove a point, right?
Yeah, they came out swinging.
Yeah, like let's go out there and that's what happened. That's what happened.
Yeah.
First drive touchdown, right?
and Aaron Jones is a Cowboy
I was
killer.
just
man.
going to bring that up. They were talking
Every
about how
time.
well he plays in Dallas.
Yeah, every time.
You guys need to go get him.
I'd like him.
You need to go get him.
I'd like him.
I don't think he
But I don't
wants.
think he's leaving.
He
Is
wants
he a
to-
free agent this year?
No, did you sign
I
an
don't-
extension last
Yeah,
year?
I don't think he is. I think it was a couple years ago, but I think we saw him for. a
I
couple
mean,
years.
he lights Dallas up. And we were looking at, we were like, oh, where's he from? Because they kept saying he came home. We found out he's from Georgia, right?
Yep.
But he went to UTEP,
Yeah,
so he played college ball there.
yeah.
But yeah, he
Every
I
time
don't
he
know what
plays-
his thing is against the Cowboys. You guys pissed him off or
I
something.
guess so.
Yeah, and it was interesting. It wasn't in nobody. I mean, I've grown to love Reed as a player. Watson was out there too. We didn't even need not to be funny, but like those guys didn't even play like that. They
Right,
didn't really
yeah.
have to do anything.
Yeah,
Jones had a really good game, and I
Mhm.
think he plays well against Cowboys, but he also is a really good player. And Jordan Love, there was a couple throws where he looked good. He had some.
Yeah, he did look good.
There was a lot of broken plays for sure, but there were some plays where the sidearm throw into the
Mhm.
for the
We were talking
touchdown.
about that, yeah.
For Dobbs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an incredible throw, and so I'm
Yeah, he
excited.
put it right where he needed to.
Yeah, exactly.
where he needed
In
to.
between.
And as you, if I was you, I would be really excited about Love and Dobbs because every time Love got in trouble and he needed a scramble,
Right.
the man who was open was Dobbs. It was like they were playing backyard
Yeah.
football, and Love knew, oh shoot, I'm in trouble. Like right there he is, and it was almost the same broken play 2 times in a row. I think they're both third downs, like huge third down catches by Dobbs in the middle of the field.
Yep. And I think the cool part, I think the one thing I do like about this Packers team compared to previous, right? Rodgers always had his one player. It was always Devontae Adams before his Nelson, Driver, like all those players. I feel like this young group, it's like one person steps up a game and then they all play really well. In this game, it was Dobbs, a lot of Dobbs, but maybe this coming week it might be somebody else. And I think that's what I like about this team. They spread the ball around.
Yep.
But they also could have one player that can, make the difference.
Yeah, and you guys, so far, you haven't run into the diva problem yet with your receivers.
No.
They are a group right now. They are a
No,
group.
and I don't think so. I saw Reed. He went up to Jones and he goes, "I love blocking for you, man." he's like, "You run so hard." He's like, "I love," and that's what you want.
Yeah.
You look at Pickett, right, or
Pickens.
Pickens. Who's like, "I'm not
I'm
gonna
not
block.
getting hurt.
I'm
I
not
don't
gonna
wanna
get
get
hurt." Like nobody wants to play with a guy like that. Like,
yeah. Oh, I know.
But anyways, it was a good game. It was tough. It was funny because they went up 20-0. We missed the field goal, and Adam goes, "Here's the change," or what's the?
Here's the momentum change.
Momentum.
Dallas is going to get the ball, drive down, score right before half,
Get the ball
get the
back.
ball back, score again, and it's only a 6-point game.
And I was
And
like,
then-
oh man, that
and
makes
then-
sense though.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Dak came out and threw a pick six.
They were
immediately.
driving down, and then
Yeah.
he threw that pick
Yeah.
six to, and then Savage ran it in. But
Yeah.
I don't know. After this happens every year after year, it seems like I start to wonder, like, what's the deal?
I feel like
Is it-
this year is an even bigger blow, though. Like
It is.
I know it's like it's the same thing all the time, but I feel like every year going to the playoffs, it's like, oh, Dallas is gonna choke. Oh, Dallas is gonna choke. I felt like this year a lot of people were favoring Dallas to get through it because they looked so good at home, because they fought hard to get that 2 seed. That wasn't an easy schedule at the end of the year for them to
Yeah.
get that 2 seed.
Not
I mean,
at all.
they got help from Philly, messing up quite a bit, but I had high expectations for Dallas. I actually had Dallas as my favorite out of the NFC, and I don't know, man. Again, the whole Detroit getting screwed over and then having them play the Packers the next round in the playoffs comes back and bites Dallas in the butt again.
I know it.
I think confidence sometimes is sometimes you come in. We talk about this. We talked about it before the game. It's like the underdog. Like it's good. It's expectations are low, right? I wanted it to be a good game. It didn't even end up being a good game, right? For the Cowboys fans, but for them, I think one thing that you said in our text group is nobody was there's no clutch. Like there was no player that was like, we're doing this, right? We're taking a step. We're
No, Dallas and CD were
because
seen multiple times. Or Dak and CD were yelling at each other on the sideline.
Michael Parsons didn't show up at all.
He didn't. And you said a few times, like, oh, he just likes to run his mouth on social media now.
I know.
That's all he likes to do. But yeah, Parsons didn't Lawrence came out fired up right away.
Yeah.
He made a couple of huge plays in the beginning of the game. You weren't here yet. You were still Applebee's at this point.
yeah, but we got a touchdown.
But he came out. Because one of them was he got the first. It should have been a 3-and-out,
right.
and then that broken play to Dobbs, and then it was
Right.
just. But Lawrence, he's getting up there, man.
I know.
He's still good for you guys. He's like Hayward on our team. He's still good. He can still produce, but I feel bad for the guy. He's getting up there in age. Like, are they going to be able to do this for him?
I don't know.
I felt like
I
this was
start to
your
have
year,
doubts
man.
when this happens year
I
after
know.
year.
I felt like this was your year for sure.
But one of the analysts on the Fox pregame show said it kind of good. It was like the Cowboys have a lot of pressure on them,
We do.
and the Packers were playing with house money.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
100%. And the thing is like I as much as like I've grown up to like not love the Cowboys, the only reason why I honestly like there's parts is because of my friends, right, that like them. But I feel bad for Cowboys fans because they're always like when they're doing good, it's always like, oh, like an excuse of why they're good, and then when they're bad, it's like, man, I tell you,
It's tough.
It's tough, man. I give it.
Which brings up another thing that actually I wanted to address myself was that I'm so sick and tired of people who are fans of teams that do absolutely nothing. They get 2, 3, 4 wins a
I
year,
mean the Giants.
and then they talk trash on every team in the playoffs that lose. I mean, dude, you didn't even have a chance. Like, at least we had a chance.
Yeah.
We were in the playoffs. We had a chance. You had zero chance. They don't live for their team to win. They live for your team to lose.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, there's
And it drives me nuts. I can't stand. I almost got into another argument on Facebook about it. An Arizona fan was talking trash on quarterbacks and saying Cleveland needs a quarterback, Dallas needs a quarterback, Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. They're never going to win what they got. I'm like, dude, what did Kyler Murray and
what have
Arizona
you
do?
done?
Like,
Yeah.
what? Like you have no.
Yeah.
Need. Then he's like, oh, don't get salty. I'm like, how do you expect somebody not to get salty when you just talk trash on our team who just lost in the playoffs? It's a heartbreaking loss. It's not like they were eliminated in week 13 like your team was. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I don't know. And Giants fans are notorious for it. They don't care if the Giants win as long as the Eagles or the Cowboys lose.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's that rivalry, man. They love it.
Yeah.
They love
The
it.
only thing, and we'll get into it because that'll be the couple games down the line here that we get to talking about. But the only thing that made Sunday's loss better was that lost Monday night.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I hear you. So then we moved on to the Sunday night game, we split. Ryan and I went with the Lions. You guys went with the Rams.
This was the best game of the weekend.
And we said this was
100%.
probably going to be the show stealer.
Yep.
I honestly didn't see much of it. I started to watch it, and then my old body kicked in, and I fell asleep.
Me too. Don't feel bad.
And then I woke up, and the Lions won by 1 point. I was like, damn, I missed the best game of the weekend.
Yeah.
But,
Well, actually, your game was pretty good Pittsburgh made it close at the end there. It was a
Well,
game.
we'll get into that.
But yeah,
We'll get into
but that was a decent game. I watched that one.
Yeah. The Lions played tough. It had to have been super emotional in that building. Super emotional in that building. With Stafford coming back.
They booed him.
Yeah, bad.
I was surprised.
Dan Campbell said no Stafford jerseys.
I was surprised
He put out
by
a
that.
thing that he wanted no Stafford jerseys worn.
I think it's disrespectful.
I was a little disappointed.
Because he
in
did
that.
a lot for that team. I know it didn't amount to wins, but he did a lot for that team and for that city
for
too.
the
Yeah.
city, for the
Yes.
city alone, like him and Kelly, like
Yeah.
were huge parts.
And
of
it hurt. I
Yeah.
think it hurt Stafford. I think it hurt Stafford to get booed like that. But I think it really hurt Stafford that he won his Super Bowl with the Rams and not with the
Of course.
Lions.
Of course,
Like
yeah.
that's what he wanted.
He's
wanted.
like, I've been there for 12
something.
years.
Yeah.
and all I wanted to do was win. And the guy, I tell you, the guy every year
I
he
love
would leave
Stafford.
it out. He would leave it out.
Oh,
there.
all the
Broken
time.
arm and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
you know.
dislocated shoulder, pop it back in, let
Yep.
me go in.
Yeah.
I love Stafford. I think he takes a lot of heat
Classic.
for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, he played on so many garbage Lions teams, and the only reason they were even relevant to talk about was because Stafford was there.
100%.
And Megatron.
Yeah.
He just, I feel so bad for Stafford. But it's a business at the end of the thing. It's also on the flip side, you got to kind of feel good for Jared Goff, too. Here's the
Yeah.
Rams that said, you got a Super Bowl, but you're not good enough for us to win it, so we're going to trade you away for this guy. He comes in and wins it,
Yep.
and now you're playing them in the playoffs, and you come out on top of this victory. That's gotta be a little bit feel good for Goff.
And Jared said, like, he seems like a pretty, I mean, obviously we don't know him, but, like, he seems like a pretty cool, like humble guy, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm
He's
out
not
there.
flashy. He's
Right.
not. Yeah,
I'm making the plays, but my,
and
my
he's
players
actually
around
pretty
me.
good.
Yeah, he's
He
consistent.
makes some good throws. Yeah, he will definitely win you games. He'll lose you games, but he'll definitely be the reason.
Yeah.
He's not a plug and play. Like, he's a good quarterback.
Like, he's not the
good-
Mahomes where he's gonna make like something out of like
Yeah.
absolutely nothing, but he's gonna
Yeah.
if they're up and they're winning and doing well. I think he's a good.
Yeah.
I would say better than a what's it called, a quarterback, like a systems
Game
quarterback,
manager.
game manager.
Yeah, that's
like
what I
a
was
little
thinking.
bit
He's a
better.
step up from game manager.
Yeah.
He's not the elite. I put him in the good quarterback
Yeah.
category. He's not elite. He's not megastar. He's not a game manager. He's not a bust.
Yeah.
He's a solid quarterback. He's a solid quarterback. And I know when we were talking, I said that whoever won the Dallas Green Bay game and whoever won the Bills Steelers game, that's who I was going to cheer for us. But I might have to switch.
I
I'm
know.
cheering
I
for.
I heard on Facebook you said blah blah blah, and
I didn't say nothing on Facebook, did I?
you said something about you and your son. You said I'm
Oh,
rooting
yeah, for the
this
Bills.
team.
But
Yeah.
on the NFC side, I think
Yeah,
I would
know.
like to see
You
the line.
were
I think
gonna-
I'd like
you
to
were
see
going to be the Packers. Okay,
Bills,
we do
a
that.
Bills line. I mean, I will be glad if Green Bay gets there, but I think my top choice will be the Bills, Lions, or even the Texans, Lions. I think I'd like to see either one of those games.
They, both quarterbacks were kind of caught in a crappy situation.
Yeah,
But I like Goff, and obviously I've always liked Stafford, and I didn't think he should have got booed like that.
No.
yeah, that was
Very-
kind of
yeah.
that wasn't cool.
Because I
That
think
wasn't
the last
cool.
few years in Detroit, it's a new GM and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And all them years, you can only do so much if you're Stafford. I mean, the Lions weren't really putting teams together
Yeah.
for him. So,
Yeah, like I said, the
what are
only
you going to
reason they
do
were
at that
staying
point?
relevant was because Stafford was
Yeah.
there playing
So-
for him.
And look at the pieces now. I mean, they have
I
some
know.
really good
I know.
pieces, right?
St. Brown, Montgomery,
Yep.
Gibbs.
Yeah. And they're
Laporta,
and then
and
obviously
Hutchinson.
They
on
got
the
a great
defense.
line.
Yeah,
offensive line.
they put a lot into that team, and I wish Stafford could have reaped the benefits of that team for where he wanted to, but I'm not going to cry for him too much. He does have a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
He does, and well deserved. But the better team came out, and they played a hell of a game. And honestly, to win it in 30 years
Yeah.
or however long it was pretty
It's
incredible.
our second team, too, so
Yeah.
it's nice.
Yeah, it's good for them.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say you guys went with them and forced me to take Detroit. So thank you guys for that. But, we had said going into it that we thought this could be the game that stole the show, and I think it did. I think that was the best game. I just sucks that was the 8:00 game.
Right.
Us old folks had to fall asleep on it,
Hey, don't feel bad. I was out, too. But I woke up towards the end and finished it out. But
I turned it on for the Jared Goff post game interview. That's when I woke up. I was
That's
like,
funny.
Must be the Lions won. Yeah. So then brings us to Monday afternoon game, the Steelers and the Bills. Believe it or not, I'm not that upset over this game. I'm upset we lost, but I do feel the better team won the game.
Yeah.
With that being said, there were some shady things that happened. There were some questionable things that happened, but you're gonna get that all year long in all the games so far.
And with the Steelers fan.
And we were talking about this at work, and it's not just one team. It's not just one. League wide, the refs have been pretty bad.
Right.
And I said, if anything else, they're consistent this year. Consistently bad making calls.
Yeah.
It just is. There's some controversy in that game, obviously. The Steelers fans were complaining that the game should have still been played on Sunday because that neutralized Buffalo. However, when there's a travel ban in place, the safety of the fans takes precedent. Yes, the stadium would have been cleared, and they could have played on the stadium, but outside the stadium was not clear.
Right.
And that's what they were looking at. The governor put a state of emergency in and put a travel ban in.
And what? Yeah, maybe it might be like the Bills fans wouldn't have been there, right? So it wouldn't have been as loud. But Bills playing those conditions, so the Steelers making that excuse to be
and what it was is that the Steelers fans felt, and because of the last 3 weeks, our run game had progressed so much, and our run defense was playing well too, that they thought it would have stabilized it. I don't think so. I'm not one of those fans. I'm actually glad they moved it. I think it would have been stupid to play. And if you had seen any of the cameras that they put up in that stadium, you wouldn't have been able to see anything in the game.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have been able to see anything.
Whiteout, yeah.
And the 45 to 65 mile an hour winds, none of your passes would have went anywhere. It would have been like the electronic football game where you put them on the thing and turn it on and it vibrates. That's what the game would have been. It would have just been all running. For punts, forget about it. Our punter had a hard enough time as it was trying to get the ball.
Yep.
But there are some things, the 53-yard touchdown or whatever it was that Josh Allen ran. There's some questionable missed calls on that play. But at the same time, there are questionable calls
on that play.
Well,
could have been.
Well, now it's a good point.
Yes.
But one of the first tackles that would have been made, there's a huge controversy over that.
Did he get chipped or something?
No, it was, did Josh Allen stutter step or did he fake slide?
Oh.
And now I don't know. His running style, I don't see him stumbling and stutter stepping.
Or sliding.
But,
Josh Allen sliding
well,
in general,
if
dude.
you look at it, he leans back and then he chops his feet and then he keeps running.
Right.
So, he could have been, whatever. He could have been trying to juke. He got it. It is what it is.
Right.
But had that been a fake slide, that's a penalty.
Well, of course.
Because of Kenny Pickett.
Your boy.
Ironically, because of Kenny Pickett, that was a penalty. However, before he even got that far, 2 offensive linemen had the Steelers like this.
Right.
Didn't get called. There's holding on every play. So, there were calls on each way.
I feel bad for defenders in today's game.
Yeah, you can't do
when
anything.
they're trying to do
lane.
Yeah, I know it. I don't know how you play the position anymore.
Yeah, right?
Like corners.
Or safeties. Like
anybody,
especially
really.
with a quarterback when they run.
Right.
Like you're going full speed. You don't know if they're going to slide or not. Sometimes they don't slide to you're right there on it.
And if you're dropping and he's sliding underneath you,
no, I agree.
If you're dropping and he's sliding underneath you, you're still going to. Which there was a roughing the passer on Josh Allen's slide that was like bang bang, like it hit. But there are bad calls on both ways. The Bills lost a challenge on a clear fumble that they said that he didn't have possession until he went out of bounds. I'm telling you, he had
possession.
He had it. Now that didn't.
Freiermuth, right, where he lost
Freiermuth,
it.
yeah. Now that didn't end up mattering because 4 plays later we threw an interception in the end zone.
Right.
But that could have been a huge momentum shift. There were just bad calls all over the place. It was on both sides. It just sucks because it was a good game for a long time. It was close, and then we got hit with like 3 penalties in a row. For our first half, I think we had 1 penalty. Our second half, we had like 4 to 5 penalties.
I think you guys were missing TJ a lot too.
Definitely were. I was thinking that when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Piece.
When I was watching, I was thinking they were doing good containing Josh Allen. They were doing good, kind of putting pressure on him, but they couldn't get to him.
Right.
They needed somebody who could have got to him.
And that's TJ Watt.
Yeah.
That's
and it would have been great. Yeah.
Best defensive player, right? I mean, like
He's defensive player of the year.
Mason Rudolph, I think, stepped up pretty good after a shaky start. Held it together.
His shaky. He definitely came off. He again throwing interceptions. He hadn't done that in the first 3 games that he played. He was very accurate with his balls, but the wind had been a factor. I mean, there's still 15-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Right.
So
and it's cold as heck.
Yeah.
I mean, like you're playing in conditions.
And and then there's they put it together in the second half, but again with my roller coaster ride, I said this all year long. They just can't put a full game together, and they didn't. They started to make it competitive, and it was close, and then they shot themselves in the foot with penalties, whether they were for real or blown calls or whatever. They still put themselves in that position. And then, like I said, in the first quarter, I was like, dude, Knox and Kincaid are gonna have a huge game because we cannot cover tight ends.
Yeah.
I don't know how people haven't figured out against the Steelers. You just throw. We have no inside linebacker that can cover tight ends.
Yeah.
Ever since Palomalo left, we've had nobody who could cover a tight end. And even when Palomalo was there, Gronk used to destroy us.
Right.
Like the tight end is whatever style of defense they're running, the tight end must like the day before he plays a Steeler, be like, oh god, this is gonna be so good. This is gonna be so good.
So that's why I go back to like the Cowboys game and talk about coaching. I don't know how you felt about McCarthy when he was there, but it was even Jason Garrett before McCarthy and whatever. On paper, the Bills are a better team than Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh was in it pretty much to the end, fighting. On paper, Cowboys are the better team. And they didn't have a chance at all that game.
Yeah, they were done after the first
So
quarter.
it's like Tomlin, McCarthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, I wish we could get one of them coaches.
What I've seen,
Or something needs to happen.
Yeah, I've seen one. I don't know if it was the same way in Green Bay or not, but I've seen lately a lot of knocks on McCarthy is he doesn't change his game plan.
Yeah.
Like he's got a game plan when he goes in the game. That's what he's gonna do.
Garrett was kind of the same way.
Yeah, Garrett was really bad.
Isn't
that
that
way,
kind
but
of? Isn't Tomlin kind of like that?
He
too? It's
was.
Old school. Okay,
He
so
was.
it's changed a little
He's
bit.
kind of changing this year, and I'm excited for next year.
Right.
Tomlin has announced today that he's coming back.
Nice.
He is coming back. Now, he has promised some changes, and it'll be very interesting to see if he does that. But the last quarter of the season, he changed his styles. He made adjustments at halftime.
Yep.
He benched Trubisky. He wasn't blind loyal to Trubisky and said, nope, you're our number 2, you're going. He wasn't blind loyal to Kenny and said, you're healthy, you're going in.
Right.
He was like, yo, listen, Mason's hot. We're going to
Best
ride with
player,
Mason.
right?
You know?
Think Pickett comes
Yeah.
back next year as a starter or no?
As of right now, in the press conference today, Tomlin said, yes,
Yeah. I
Pickett
too.
would be the start. Well, first of all, they don't know if Rudolph's coming back. He's a free agent. So they got to sign him.
There's no way.
If
There's
some
no
other
way
team
he's
doesn't come in and throw money at him for the way he played at the end of the year.
There's no way that somebody's gonna. I mean, he played good.
We've
You
seen
really
this
think-
before, though.
Dude,
I know.
Matt Flynn.
Brock Osweiler.
That's true.
That-
your
people-
boy, what's his name? Trubisky got it
Right?
right.
Like we did with Trubisky. Like,
It could
Josh
happen.
Dobbs just got a huge year this year. My man Josh Dobbs. Like,
Yeah,
and it's
I get it.
I don't know. Yeah, Matt Flynn's a great.
Matt Flynn's a
great
really
agent.
good
I mean,
comparison.
Yeah.
The Seahawks paid a ton of money
I know.
for him and then
I know.
didn't even start him.
But they got
That's
but
when they drafted Russell.
Yeah.
But they got him in the third round, so it
Yeah.
worked out. You know.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll be interesting. Tomlin said, as of right now, Kenny will be QB1, but there will be a healthy competition. I think he's planning on bringing Mason back. He's going to try. Then they asked about
they're trading for somebody.
their
anyways.
coordinators. They asked about the coordinators, the offense coordinators. They're like, are you going to give the guys that are doing it now a shot? And he said no. He straight up said no. He's like, nope, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to look on the out. And that's not a Tomlin thing. Tomlin's always been loyal to whoever's under him, whoever's on his coaching staff, he promotes.
Leftwich,
Nope.
man. I'm
He's
telling
like,
you,
dude,
Leftwich is it.
I would be okay with that. Leftwich, there's another guy I can't remember who it was now, but
Roethlisberger, or are you thinking about this guy named Roethlisberger?
no, that I mean that's a possibility. But no, he was a
Kingsbury.
might have been Kingsbury, but I think he just interviewed with somebody else.
He did.
But there's a
Bears
couple of
Lakers.
them. Yeah, there's a couple of them that
That
are
would be good
good
for Justin
OCs.
Fields.
Well, he's gonna be playing at Pittsburgh anyway, so
Well, that's what I was going to ask, too. You think they'd take a shot at someone like Fields or maybe Russell Wilson
I
or
would
something?
love to see them go after Fields. I don't want Wilson.
I like Wilson for you guys.
I don't want Wilson.
Tomlin, I feel like he would do well with.
Maybe because he is that old school mentality coach. and he played well for Pete Carroll and stuff. And we have weapons. We have weapons. What they need to do is they need to address the inside linebacker.
Yep.
They need to address inside line, offensive line, and their corners. We need another corner to go with Porter. Which we got Trice. He was hurt all year this year, and there was a lot of hype with him coming out as a rookie this past year, and he got hurt. So we'll see what happens. But my offseason will be concentrated on a QB, better O line, inside linebackers and corners.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
But for Tomlin to take the roster he had this year, get 10 wins, and be in the playoffs, and be competitive in a playoff game.
In one of the best divisions.
Yeah,
in one of the best
yeah.
divisions.
I mean, our last place team was 9-7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there he. I think there's a lot of trash talk on Tomlin
We
the
beat
last few
Baltimore
years.
twice, right? I mean, I know the second game wasn't with the
we
start,
beat them
but still.
twice. Yeah, we beat them twice.
So
We beat them twice, beat Cincy twice, and we split. We went 5-1 in our division.
Tomlin's always been great, though.
Yeah.
See, but people hate on him because he doesn't have the playoff wins. He over 500 and either just misses the playoffs or just gets into the playoffs, and then they lose in the playoffs the first round.
Yeah.
Like, look, a couple of years ago, they fought tooth and nail to get in there. Well, actually, they didn't fight tooth and nail. They went 11-0, and then they lost
And then they lost.
like
Oh,
5
yeah.
out of the last 6 games,
Yeah.
and then they lost in the first round to Baker and Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it's,
mean,
this
this
is
year,
like a Tomlin team, like they say. Like, but I don't know. It'd be interesting if they can get. I would even say they need a younger defensive coordinator too.
yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, Faulkner is doing all right there, but I don't know how much of it is his scheming
What
or
if,
his players.
What if, and this is kind of interesting because we haven't heard Vrabel a lot in
Yeah.
conversations at all, but what if he goes and is like a defensive coordinator for one of these teams?
I would take him.
Imagine, it would be interesting if he went and
You
worked
know,
for Patriots. But
They just announced that McCarthy's coming back,
Yeah.
but wouldn't you rather them, maybe call up Vrabel?
I do like Vrabel.
Vrabel and a Cowboys?
Because I think that's the type of coach we need.
Yeah.
players
Garrett, Garrett and McCarthy are just,
They're puppets.
yeah.
They're a Jerry Jones puppet.
We need someone like Vrabel.
Jimmy Johnson. Dude, did you see how...
Or like the old Bill Cowher days where he's
Yeah.
yelling at these guys and spits flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we need.
Did
right
you
there.
see how fired up Jimmy Johnson was? Did you turn it off
Yeah.
by halftime? Or did
No,
you watch that?
I watched the whole thing.
He was
Yeah.
fired. They need
It
that.
helped. It
He
helped,
was
didn't it?
fired up,
Jimmy
man.
got out there and
That helped.
Bro, but they needed him in the
They
locker
do.
room. They don't need
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy. He's like, well, okay, guys, we're gonna try.
Yeah.
Like you need.
So-
And then Garrett was just clapping.
Yeah, Garrett's just like,
So, I wish we could get, and some of the, like, I would have taken Belichick.
would
Or-
you?
Yeah.
Because
over
you
what you
kind of
got,
seemed
right?
like you didn't really want Belichick to come to Dallas.
I would take him. Vrabel was out there.
Well, after
You know?
after the season, you were happy with McCarthy, and then all of a sudden it plummeted after
Well,
because this has got to be the biggest gut punch the Cowboys have had in a while this year.
Yeah.
100%.
Because they had it, this
Especially
year.
going against. I mean, again, I'm a Packers fan, but 7th seed
Right.
Packers, like you're not expecting,
How funny is it though that the two, like, tough games were the 2 to 7 seed? Like,
yeah,
they struggled against the 7 seeds.
Yep.
You know? I mean, obviously Detroit and the Rams had a really close game, only 1 point, but they were what 3 and 6. Like they weren't that far apart.
yeah, yep,
2 and
that's
7, like you would think that's supposed to be like a okay.
one
Here's
blowout,
your walkway to the second. And
I'm very disappointed because everything was setting up for a long playoff run.
yeah,
16-0 at home, 2 home games guaranteed.
yeah.
Wouldn't have to go possibly anywhere until San Francisco.
Or
in the
San Francisco
championship.
lost, right?
Yeah, or they
You
lost.
lost and you have 3
Right.
home games.
Dak was playing at MVP level.
CeeDee Lamb was
Defense,
lights out.
defense was playing great, and then
But your
Jordan
run-
Love came in there and just
Yeah, and your run game is like, no offense, but like that's probably one of our weakest parts. And man, Pollard's not the answer. Man.
No.
We were talking
No.
about that. Pollard needs that. He needs that Zeke,
yeah.
which is
I know.
why if I'm Jerry Jones,
Derrick Henry.
I'm calling Derrick
I know.
Henry right now,
I know.
and I'm like, listen, I'll pay a tampering fund. I don't care. Like,
Yeah. Put
I
that
need
star
you
in
in
your
Dallas.
helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but did you see what he said in his
Yep, I saw that.
interview at the end of the year?
And then Dallas.
He was gonna go do some things and take some time with his family, and then head to Dallas and take care of some things, and then go do something else.
said he's heading to Dallas. Who knows what that means? I don't know.
Maybe he's looking
Henry-
at some real estate.
Henry and Pollard would be. I think it'd be a good.
Yeah.
That's why I said with Pittsburgh, everyone's like, oh, in the beginning of the year, oh, Najee's not this, Najee's a bust, and I was like, no, keep him,
Right.
keep him. You need that 1-2. If Dallas brings in someone like Henry and they let Pollard and Henry split pretty even, 60-40, dude, you could.
Yeah,
that could be a pretty
Pollard
good.
But
was
that 40
definitely-
is better than his 100 that he put in.
Yeah, Pollard was
They had-
definitely better when he was that change of pace.
Yeah, they had nobody
Yeah.
else there. They had Dowell or whatever his name was. There was
Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, but he wasn't even a change of pace. It was like 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like the same kind of runner. But they need somebody different. They need somebody that can just hammer it down the throat, you know?
We're going to get into
Maybe
this.
we'll,
but let's-
maybe we'll
but
get
let's-
Vrabel as defensive coordinator because Quinn's probably gone.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
There you
let's-
go.
And
let's-
then Henry will follow Vrabel. It's a
Let's
win-win.
get you feeling a little bit better.
A little bit better, right?
Well-
Because now we're on to the last
This was nice.
game of the playoffs.
Pretty
And
depressing.
somebody should have listened to themselves when they said, I'm tempted to go with the Bucks. Because they've been saying all year the Eagles aren't as good as their record.
Yeah, and you
But I folded under pressure,
did.
and I went with the Eagles. And this was the other one we all got wrong.
Yeah.
The Eagles and the Bucks. Baker came out fired
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And he was... When Baker's pissed, and he has something to prove, and he wakes up feeling dangerous, watch out.
Yeah,
He could be...
I root for Baker.
Really good.
I like him.
But he's just so inconsistent. He has one great game, and now this week he'll go into where is he going?
Lions.
Detroit, and he'll do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
I mean, hopefully it'll be a good game, but yeah,
He's so inconsistent though.
Yeah.
He's
his passion for the game though is so
Yeah, right.
so electric,
Yeah.
man. It's like
I like him. I do
Yeah.
like him. I think Carolina was using him as a scout team
right.
linebacker. Like, what in the heck? No
And
wonder.
then Cleveland-
No wonder they're 1-12.
You know, he kind of made Cleveland relevant again.
He was them their first playoff
And
game
then
in
they
years.
just toss him.
For Deshaun
and he was
Watson.
big. And he was big. He was kind of like not Stafford, but he was getting to that point
Yeah.
where commercials, big for you know.
Yeah.
He's definitely a fun player to
I
watch.
never understood why Cleveland trashed Baker as much as they did.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, but I think the bigger thing for this was yes, Bucks played and they did well. But the collapse of the Eagles, I think,
Yeah.
was the biggest storyline of not just this week, but leaning into this week of how they went so downhill so quickly.
Yeah, and they most likely lost their only respectable player.
Well, I wouldn't say only respectable, but yeah,
I mean,
huge.
you don't like
he's
anybody
huge.
else on the Eagles.
There's some players, but yes,
I know,
he's the
I
heart and the
don't-
soul.
I
He's
don't
the
like
heart and
anybody
soul
else.
of that.
Jason Kelsey
Yeah.
is most likely going to retire,
Yeah.
and it was tough to watch him walk off that field the way he did, because he was feeling it. He was feeling it.
Did you see their podcast yesterday?
I didn't finish it, but I listened.
He's
to the
pretty
first-
emotional. right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't get the emotional part. They moved on from it. I don't know if they come back to it. I don't know if it's at the end, but I watched it.
Yeah, they both share a moment. It's
Yeah.
pretty emotional,
Yeah.
so you can tell it. He's
gonna
probably on his
retire.
way out.
He's
Yeah.
going to retire. I mean, the man is 36. He's a year younger than me,
Yeah.
and he's out here playing center.
He said, "What did he say? Who was the coach? It was the
Uh,
new coach.
Stout. Right?
Stout. And what?
No, it's Mayo. Jared Mayo is a year older than. He's the youngest coach in the
Yeah.
Okay.
NFL. And he said he's a year younger than Mayo.
Yeah.
So he's like, dude, this is crazy. I'm like,
Well, Mayo's not that far out of the game.
yeah.
So, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the first and second team all year to do something this game.
Who was?
Tampa Bay. The only team, the first team and second team, to do one thing all year. Nobody else could do.
Interesting. Beat the Eagles?
No, there are a couple teams that did. You know what it is? Stopped the push. Push.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
They
did,
stopped it twice.
which is
Wow.
interesting.
They stopped it twice, yeah. And you know
I
who
didn't
who
see.
Jason Kelsey gave all that credit to? Vita Vea.
Big boy.
Vita Vea. I mean, they were talking about and I don't know if it was this podcast or just in general when they were talking about it. There are two different styles of players and you can gauge off of what style you're going against. There's the power guy who you got to get low and you got to get leverage and you got to move them out of the way. And there's the quick guy who you got to be ready to get back and get your feet moving, get your feet work going. He goes, Vita Vea is both.
He's a big boy.
He's huge.
He's huge.
And he just
like
got
power.
lower.
It's like
They just got lower than everybody else. And then the one thing that he did that I saw, and somebody pointed out, that Vita did, was he got down low and he started to push. And when Jalen Hurts came up over him, he reached up and grabbed right around and pulled Hurts down. So instead of Hurts going this way, Hurts was going more like this.
Right.
So and Vita's strong, man. He's just a monster. We need to get him out of Tampa. We need to get him to a big market. We need to get him to a big market because he's a good player. I love him in Pittsburgh. A run stuffer right there in the middle. But yeah, they were saying that they're the first team to stop the push.
Twice.
And they stopped them twice in that game. And one was right on the goal line.
I did see
one
the
was
goal
right
line.
on the goal line.
That's pretty impressive.
And they stopped them.
What do you think? Do you think it was more coaching? Do you think it was Jalen Hurts? Do you think it because
their
really
defense
collapsed?
was really bad.
Their defense was terrible, right? But their offense looked so suspect a lot of times. I mean,
I don't even know if I watched
and
that.
maybe offense because the defense. I think they were kind of not great all year.
Yeah.
But their offense was.
So hit or miss.
Their offense was, like carrying them,
Yeah, I agree.
pulling them out of.
Yeah, but Jalen Hurts looked like they didn't even talk about him in the MVP race this year, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he's a scapegoat for them.
It's
Because people would talk when they were doing really well. People
Right.
were still high on Jalen Hurts,
right.
and now they started losing a few and they started dropping. Which I said all year they're not as good as their records as they are. People started trashing Jalen Hurts and they said, "Oh, the Eagles can't trust Jalen Hurts."
Yeah, see, that's crazy.
But if you
though.
talk or listen to the people who have played talk about the Eagles
Yep.
and their offense, they say it's a Pop Warner offense.
Really?
It's a there's not a lot of
Simple.
motion. There's not a lot of audibles. There's not a lot. It's just, this is the play. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't click. Like we talked about divas, right? I mean, AJ Brown, like great player, but like for some reason, like doesn't get the ball. He's a straight diva.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's definitely a lot of personalities in that room and a lot of veteran players, but you worry about like the environment that they're in. Do you think that what's his name is going to be there? Do you think Sirianni will be there?
I think Big Dom's going to be the coach.
Big Dom, baby. That's why they probably lost because he got kicked out and now all of a sudden.
Well, he was back though.
Did he get back on the side?
I don't
No,
think
they were in Tampa. They were in Philly. They were in Tampa.
He was there though.
Was he?
Because I seen a video after he was standing at the entrance to the locker room, shaking everybody's hands.
He needs to be out on that. He needs to be out on that field. He needs to be a coach.
So
Philly probably would make him a coach.
That's an interesting thing. Like, does the blame fall on the locker room atmosphere, which would be the coach,
Yeah.
and his schemes, or does it fall on the players and what they were doing? Now, who's the Eagles' offensive coordinator? Because isn't his name getting floated around a lot right now for
Head coach?
or for a coach?
Really? Is it?
Or am I thinking Ben Johnson from Detroit? I might be
Detroit,
thinking
Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't last year's offensive coordinator. He goes somewhere as a head
Yeah,
coach.
he's the Arizona coach,
Okay.
Jonathan
The
Gannon.
weirdo guy.
Yeah.
And their defensive coordinator was the Colts coach, Steichen.
Okay.
So, but yeah. So who's the offensive
I
coordinator?
don't know. I might have been thinking of Ben Johnson from the Lions. His
Matt
name's
Patricia ran the defense
He
towards
ran
the end of the year.
Yeah, that worked out.
Yeah.
good.
Well, they collapsed at the end of the year, so. But yeah, that was
I think
interesting.
if I were them, and I hate to say this because I don't think Sirianni is a bad coach, but I think they need to make a change.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know. Maybe
I thought Dallas needed to make a change too, and they didn't. So
yeah, it just feels
Jerry's
like
not going to give up yet. Jerry's not. He's still got control over Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's still his yes man.
yeah.
He's not going to give up.
Bring like a Vrabel there, you know what I'm saying? Like a defensive. Their offense is good, right? I mean, like they have the pieces around it. Bring like a defensive coach there. I don't know.
That would be
I hate to see
interesting.
Vrabel in Philly though.
Because
Yeah,
that would be
true.
interesting because Vrabel was pissed when they traded AJ Brown to Philly.
Right. So he goes back.
And he
He goes
ends up,
back with his boy.
bro.
Yeah.
I
Guess
don't want.
what?
I don't want to talk this
Derrick
into.
Henry.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that.
Yes, sir. Derrick Henry.
What if Vrabel went to the Eagles and then Henry
Just
went to
out of
the
luck,
Eagles?
that would happen.
Dude,
I know.
that would, and then they have AJ Brown, Vrabel, and Henry back together
Yeah.
with better pieces around them than what they had in
Or maybe
Tennessee.
Sirianni stays and then they bring Vrabel because, who's the hotness of Vrabel right now? I mean,
Yeah.
there's only so many coaching options. Bring him as the D
Vrabel's
coordinator.
gonna be a head coach somewhere.
I don't know, man.
I think
there's
he's
so
gonna be
many.
a head coach
I
somewhere.
agree with you, but there's a lot of candidates out there, and there's not a lot of like
And
hype.
I
on
know
him.
I know I kept saying Benamy's gonna go to the Chargers and
He's not.
I don't think he's gonna to.
No.
I think Harbaugh's either gonna go to the Chargers or the Raiders, and Vrabel might go to the whichever one he doesn't.
And then there's a lot of talk. Again, we'll talk about this later, but there's a lot of talk about Bill Belichick going to the Falcons.
Yeah,
Like,
There's
like
a lot of talk
yeah.
about that.
Which is interesting.
Tommy's son is in one of my classes,
Oh, really?
and he's wearing a Falcons jacket today, and I was like, "You guys gonna bring in Belichick?" And he's like, "Dude, I hope so. I really do." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah," and I was like,
It's
Oh,
interesting for a young kid to say that too. So you would think you wouldn't want
"Yeah, you want?"
Belichick, because looked at him lately. But it'd be interesting to see where he goes, right?
But
'Cause
remember when I said
the
what the
quarterback.
Yeah, they're gonna need
Yeah.
a veteran quarterback because he's not. He doesn't develop quarterback.
Yeah,
He's not
that's-
an Andy Reid.
That's a
He
that's
doesn't know how to develop a quarterback.
that's a Justin Fields, maybe put him with Justin Fields,
I think he needs more of like a Kirk Cousins.
maybe, or maybe a Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
But
Well, Falcons got a somewhat of a. Well, I guess they don't have too much of a top pick, do they?
eight,
top
number
10, right?
It's 8, I think. They were
All the
talking
really
about
good
trading.
quarterback probably would be
They'll
gone.
be gone. I'm
Yeah.
excited about Jalen
Daniels.
Daniels from LSU.
I heard Raiders were
Raiders.
looking at him hard.
Yeah, but I mean,
but he was an Antonio Pierce guy. He
Yeah.
was like, dude, if
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce stays, I'd
he's
love to go to
another
the
hot
Raiders.
guy around.
There's been a lot of Raiders
want
players
Pierce.
that say, "Yeah, I want Pierce."
Well, look what he did at the end of the year with him.
Yeah.
They were winning with him. With there, he's a player. Max Crosby came out and was like, if they don't hire Pierce, I want to trade.
And they talk all about, like, it's weird because they talk about, like, these coaches, like Gerard Mayo, right? Like, he obviously was good for the Patriots,
Yeah.
but they're not giving, like, a lot of respect for Pierce and what he did
Right.
at the end of the year. It just seems, but a lot of
Do
teams
you know
are
how
just
many teams Gerard Mayo has been with?
one, right?
One team his entire
Yeah.
NFL career.
In coaching now.
His entire NFL career, not just
Yeah.
playing or coaching.
Right,
His
gotcha.
entire NFL career.
Which
He's
is
been
cool.
with the Patriots.
It'll be. I'm excited to see how he does as a head coach. I mean,
Mac Jones got to be gone, right?
They're
They're gonna have to draft
they have
a
the
QB.
third. They have the third.
Yeah, because I don't think Zappy's the answer either.
No, Mac Jones is gonna be gone. He's got to be gone.
They have the third pick. So
Who do you think they're going with? May
I mean,
or Daniels?
it would be great if they could get Daniels. I mean, for
It'd be interesting because there's a chance that Marvin Harrison Jr. could drop quite a bit.
to 4. I think he would go to Cardinals if the top three go quarterback, which it kind of seems like it's going that way right now. Unless the
Somebody might
Bears,
make a move.
Depend on.
Well,
there's
if the
probably
Bears
gonna be
keep Fields, which personally I think they should keep Fields, but
yeah.
I would.
But
If they don't, Pittsburgh should call.
But I think if they don't get a
I don't
top
have to buy a
3,
Pittsburgh jersey.
if they don't get a top 3,
Team them, they're cheap.
if they don't get a top 3, then I think Cardinals are going for Marvin Harrison.
Think so?
Yeah, because I mean,
I could see somebody trying to make a move, but like, if you think about like how far back do you think you can move and still get Harrison? Because there's got to be QB needy teams that are willing to go up there.
I don't know, but again, if it's 1 through 3 is the top 3 guys, after that it's what Penix, Michael Penix.
Yeah.
from-
I've heard his name attached to
But
Pittsburgh too.
again, he
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, but he's later, and then they're talking about JJ McCarthy if he comes out. So like, but those are the guys. But
Yeah.
again, those 3 are the top 3 right now. So I don't know.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that was the wild card weekend. Our guest Ryan went 2-4, which is a 33% win percentage. Mike, you and I also went 2-4, 33%, and Josh, you went 3-3 at a 50%.
Okay.
Okay, 3-3.
Should pick the Lions.
Last week, I said that I hadn't tallied everything up yet.
But
And I
know you
did
won.
it. I did it. Okay? We ended the year I had a 147 and that's not right. I don't know. I only had 147 wins with 54%, so I dropped 1% at the end of the
Nice.
day
There you go.
because I was at 6-10. Now, going into this week, you guys were both at a 60% winning rate.
Into this week or the week?
Going into week 18.
Okay, going
You guys-
into week.
Yeah,
18.
I'm rewinding
Yes.
because I didn't have all this calculated last time.
Yes.
So, going into week 18, you guys were both at a 60% winning.
Yes.
Now, with that being said, I never wrote down 60 point whatever. Okay?
Okay.
So you may have been like a 60.8 and you may have been like a 60.2 or vice versa.
Okay.
Or something like that,
Okay.
okay? You went 9-7, you went 10-6.
I know one more. I could
Okay.
have one more than me. So I'm scared.
That puts Josh at 165 and 107.
Okay.
Mike was at 157 and 103. Alright? The winner of the percentage by 1%, Mr. Joshua Ramirez. Joshua Ramirez. Overall picks.
No way, man.
Overall picks.
Yeah, what?
And
That's-
percentage. Now, your win percentage was 61.2 blah 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 blah
Right.
blah. Your winning percentage was 60.875.
Oh man.
I was
So just because the total games
Right.
was off just enough that your winning percentage, you were only ahead of him by like 0.3.
because I was like,
But
I
it
swear
put
I
you
lost.
but it put you up into 61
That's
and it kept
funny.
him at 60.
Wow.
I swear I was like, dude, he won. I'm
Yeah.
like, we
When
both
I-
like 60%.
When I did all the calculations, I was like, "Oh my God, Josh won!" So yeah, so that's I had to put that out there. It was a very good year for you two.
Yeah.
Very good year for
That was
you
awesome,
two.
man. 60.
60%. I mean, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
54. I'll sit over here. I mean, I'm like Tom, and I'm above 500, but I ain't going anywhere. So that was.
Can't win them each year. You know what I'm saying?
You can't
Yeah.
do it all. So next year, maybe it's your year.
We always say that. We'll see.
It's
We'll
the
see.
Dallas motto, you know. Next year's your year.
We'll see.
So, I mean, is there anything else you guys want to talk about from the wild card? Or you want to get into pick'ems for this round?
I think
Yeah.
we talked a lot about.
Yeah,
I mean, really
we
good
did it.
games.
I always feel like we don't have much to talk about, and this is a sign of good friendship, of good
Yeah.
chemistry. We sit down, and next thing you know, it's an hour and a half later.
Constantly talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this week's games, we have one sole survivor of us remaining, Mr. Joshua. Mike and I will have to cheer for our second teams, but we're going to start Saturday at 4:30 in Baltimore. We have the Texans going into Baltimore. Interesting fact about this game: I will be in Baltimore
Oh, that's
on
right.
Saturday. My clinic gets over at 3:30 and the game starts at 4:30.
And you're almost hoping for. Obviously, you're hoping for the Steelers to win, and if the Steelers won, they would
Yeah.
have been in Baltimore.
But it would have been a Sunday night game.
It would have been a Sunday.
Sunday night game.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. But
Man, that would have been something.
we have the Texans going into Baltimore. Josh, winners outs, man. We'll let you go first.
Yeah, so as much as I feel like the Texans had a great run, and I think it's awesome, and to try to count them out, I think Baltimore is just a better team overall, and has more experience in the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I would like to see Houston, but I think Baltimore's going to do it.
So going into this, I was like, I'm going to pick what I think will happen, not what I want to happen. Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, emotions get it.
However, I just got to say that last week, an analyst told C.J. Stroud that America thinks you have 0% chance of beating Cleveland in the wild card round. And C.J. Stroud said, 0%, huh? We're taking that 0% again this week, buddy. C.J. Stroud, Texans.
Wow.
Texans.
I don't know if 0% was there, but this is not the Browns team, just to let you know. I'm going to be honest. Okay.
And then it brings us into Saturday night. Our lonely Packers, our only well, not counting our adopted team, but our only true team, Packers, go into San Francisco. The Packers are just reigniting these rivalries from the 90s.
Yeah.
This is their run for the 90s. So
Yeah.
they're going to go into San Fran.
Yeah, I would say you know where I'm headed with this pick. I think our biggest takeaway is going to have to try to limit CMC as much as we can. If we could do that, I feel like we have a chance. But obviously, I just hope for a really good game. They've exceeded my expectations. Is all I'm saying.
Nice.
So
Well, guess what,
go
buddy?
Pack, go.
I'm going to Packers.
Really?
Yes, I am.
Can you your thoughts?
I just think Niners are going to come out rusty, I think.
Yeah.
The Packers are just, the way they looked last week and the way that I think they're going to look this way, like they're hungry, like he said earlier. And I just like to see San Fran lose too.
All right, I like it.
That was kind of my feeling with the Ravens. They might come out a little rusty too. So
Yes.
But I think the Packers towards the end of the year, and obviously we were unfortunate enough to run into them. They're obviously playing as a team right now,
Yeah.
and
everybody's
they're clicking right now.
Right.
So I think it's going to be an upset.
wow.
And I want to hear your thoughts, and then I have a statement after. So
Okay, so
I like it.
that is very interesting. The Packers surprised last week, come out, punch Dallas in the mouth. This week, 2 Guys 1 Mike is surprising everybody
Really?
because we're riding the Packers
Wow.
train, baby. This year has been such a roller coaster ride with ups and downs and ups and downs. And all year, what have we said? It's going to be
Hot
who
team.
catches hot at the end.
That's
And
how
I
it always
think
seems to work. Yeah.
If the Packers, and this is a big if,
Yep.
if the Packers defense shows up against San Fran the way they did against Dallas, and they can get to Brock Purdy, I think the Packers take this.
Clean sweep.
And I
huh?
think
like it.
that's what's going to happen.
I'm getting some chills.
I
boys.
think that's
I'm
what's going to
getting
happen.
chills here.
I thought for sure he was going to go San Fran, and I was going to be like, oh, Josh, I got your back. I like it.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
it.
I like it.
Nice.
We got to be.
And I
prepared.
think maybe Baltimore. I think Baltimore is going to come out pretty good, but I think San Fran for some reason is going to come out rusty.
Well, there hasn't been that. Baltimore's been in the AFC has been like the team. There really hasn't been a team in the
Yeah.
NFC.
Right.
So
It's going
I
back
can
and
see
forth,
that.
right?
Yeah, and the Packers, they're catching hot. They're catching hot. So
I will say one thing. 49ers are looking pretty healthy. They said that most of their top players are going to be back. So
You remember,
We'll
is
see.
Alexander playing?
I'm not sure. I don't know if he.
I think he's game time, isn't he?
I think he's going to be game time because I was trying to. It was tough because we were winning by so much, and I'm not trying to be like.
No, I
but
get it.
you
Yeah.
take him out, right?
Yeah.
And
You rest him. Yeah.
yeah, and I haven't heard anything on him, but it was a big.
Do you remember when Rodgers got drafted and he made that comment? Like, how's it feel to be passed over by the Niners or something? Because that was like his hometown
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
He said, "Oh, you'll see in the playoffs." Did he ever beat the Niners in the playoffs?
Oh, Rodgers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
Because
don't
how
know,
would
'cause
that?
I
don't
think
think so.
I think when you guys made your Super Bowl run, I don't think the Niners were good at that point.
Would that be something if Love beats the Niners in
Yeah.
San Fran
Yeah,
first year as a starter?
because I know when John Harbaugh went to the Super Bowl, or Jim Harbaugh went to the Super Bowl.
Well, you played John.
Yeah, they played each other, right? I know, like Colin Kaepernick destroyed us. Like it was.
Oh, yeah, that's
It was
right.
disgusting. Like we couldn't stop the run.
Yeah,
like,
nobody could stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like crazy good. So, but I think you're right. That would be ironic where Love, and I tell you what, man, he is. Everybody loves Love.
Yeah.
It's a cool group.
And I hope it does happen.
Yeah.
But I think it'll weigh heavily on your defense. That's
Yeah.
that's going to be
I agree.
good.
I agree, and that's what it is, right? I mean, obviously.
Oh, and that's what it's been all year. The defenses this year seem to be winning
Yep.
over the offenses, and your defense didn't show up. Cleveland's defense didn't show up.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's defense struggled.
Right.
And it is what it is, you know.
Go Pack, go!
I'm excited.
Which brings
fellas.
us into
Appreciate
Sunday.
that.
Our first Sunday game, the Bucks traveling into Detroit.
We talked a lot about Baker, right?
Yeah.
We talked about his energy. Personally, I think it would be exciting to see the Lions win, and then if the Packers won, it would be a divisional game for the NFC Championship. I think they're the better team, and I think that they're going to win. So the Lions, I'm going to pick the Lions.
Yeah, I like rooting for Baker, but I think the Lions are going to do it.
Okay. We have our second clean sweep.
Nice.
Yep. I said last week that I was going to cheer for whoever won the Steelers Bills and whoever won the Packers Cowboys. I have since let you know that I have changed my mind. I would really like to see the Lions get to the Super Bowl. They've never been there. So I think that would be a kind of cool story to get them there. But I would be okay with it coming down between Green Bay and Detroit to get
I'd say
there.
if it was that and we
That'd
did
be
lose
awesome.
to them, and it would suck. I mean, and this is a big if. But if the Packers lost at any point, I want the Lions. I would cheer for the Lions going forward because I think it's a cool story. You know.
Did you see that? Just real funny, real quick. Did you see that clip of that reporter asking Todd Bowles about the weather in Detroit?
Don't they have a dome?
Right.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be a reporter for a while. I don't think she was a new reporter. And she goes, "Do you have any special things to get your team acclimated to the weather in Detroit when it's going to be 13 degrees?" And you're sitting there. You could tell Bowles wanted to say something smart, but he's like, "You know they have a dome, right?" He's like, "We're going to be outside maybe 20 seconds getting off the bus. I think we'll be okay."
Yeah, right.
Slip and fall or something
Some people, it's amazing how they get their job, how they keep their jobs. But which brings us to our last game in Buffalo. It is the Bills and the Chiefs.
I would say maybe almost the game of the week, right?
I would say so. Do you know this is the first playoff game that is not a Super Bowl that Patrick Mahomes has to be on the road?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the struggle that they've had this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, it's interesting. Last week looked like the first week that they kind of almost looked like previous years because all year their offenses looked kind of rough.
Well, it helps they play Miami.
I agree. However, I think their offense still looked pretty decent.
That's a tough one.
This is tough. I'm going Chiefs.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Swifty.
Big Swift fan.
It is a tough one. But I think this is the year in the playoffs that the Bills finally get past that Kansas City hump. So I
hope
Bills.
so, too, by the way. I hope so, because we're New York. This guy's
So you're going Bills?
This
Yeah,
guy's got
Bills.
something going on over here.
Yeah, he's fishy right now.
He's got some sort of
Listen,
statement.
all right, so I do have a statement. As I was saying, it's the first playoff game that he's not going to play at home. Holmes is not going to play at home, which means he no longer has his hometown refs reffing his game. All right? I don't know. I just think Buffalo. I think Buffalo's hot. I think Detroit or Green Bay's hot right now. I think that'd be an interesting Super Bowl. I really would like to see Texans take out the Ravens and the Bills to have 3 home playoff games to get to the Super Bowl.
That'd be interesting.
Wouldn't it?
That'd be
That city would go crazy.
It would
too.
be nuts. And I'd be cheering him. I'd be part of Bills Mafia this year
Yeah.
if that happened. Obviously, Williams a Bills fan, so we would be going nuts for him. But he's only 5. He's not really going to understand. But I'm going Bills. Bills Mafia.
I wasn't much older than him when I saw my last Super Bowl.
Oh, boy.
That's unfortunate.
That's so bad. So I think they're the hot team in the AFC right now, so I'm going to ride with the Bills. I'm going Bills. This should be another classic game, though. It should be.
And Chiefs defense is so good this year. It's going to be interesting.
That reminds me, I was seeing some big name, it's like a way too early top 40 free agents for next year, and where they're going to land. And one of them was Ladarius Sneed, the cornerback from the Chiefs.
So good.
And they have him going to Pittsburgh, and I was like,
Really? Yeah.
dude, that would be
Imagine.
awesome. That would be awesome.
Did you see him when he
He's
was
gonna
playing
go back
against?
to the Chiefs.
He will, but you see him playing against what's his name, Tyreek Hill. He was pushed him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It should be
him and
on
Diggs.
paper the best game of the weekend.
I would think so. You would
But-
think. And both have played in, like, obviously cold conditions. So it's not really going to be like a home field advantage for... Obviously, Buffalo's going to show up. But
Yep. I think the 2 games this week that have the chance to steal the spotlight are obviously Buffalo, Kansas City, and Green Bay, San Francisco.
it's going to be fun.
That's-
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good weekend. I'm sorry that both your teams have...
You're not sorry.
I'm not for you. I apologize. I'm not sorry for
You're
you.
sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, but I'm excited that you both have looked
Yeah.
at that, and I think everybody has seen where the Packers could go. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
And
It's
they've
not quite the 15-1 you predicted last year, but
and like he said, they've caught and they've gotten hot at the right time.
Yeah,
So
and again, that's
that's what we said
the
all
irony
year.
of this. The irony of this whole our podcast should be number one, and because we talked about the roller coaster of who's going to be hot at the end of
Yep.
the year, and 2 teams that we named is the Packers and Buffalo. So
I mean,
Yeah.
they're getting hot. So,
Yeah.
well, sir, good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
We'll see how it goes for you. It's going to be a tough task for sure, but as long as your defense played like it did against Dak, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right, well, here we go. We're rolling into the playoffs. It's getting down to the nitty gritty here, and Lone Survivor back here. You won everything this year. You took me out in the 3rd place game. You have the overall pick'ems. You have the percentage in pick'ems, and the last team standing in the playoffs.
Let's just get this W this week and go from there.
So for one more week, 2 guys.
one Mike.
Let's go.
Peace.